I still remember the day they left me. I was 13, standing barefoot on the porch with a plastic bag of clothes clutched to my chest, watching my parents load up their car with suitcases and promises they never intended to keep. My mother didn't even look back. My father tossed a single line over his shoulder. "You're too much trouble. You'll figure it out." And then the door slammed, the engine roared, and I was alone. Neighbors whispered for weeks, some out of pity, others with disgust. One kind teacher fought to keep me in school, slipping me sandwiches during lunch, and the local foster system stepped in with cold efficiency. But no one could erase the truth. My parents had chosen freedom over me. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. Years passed. I learned to stop hoping, stop waiting for them to come back. By the time I was 20, I had clawed together a life of my own. And by 22, I thought I had finally found safety in Ethan. My husband, my anchor. He was gentle where life had been cruel, steady where I had been shaken. Together we built something fragile but ours. A small house with peeling paint, a patchy garden, and dreams we whispered under cracked ceilings. But dreams can die too. At 25, I found myself in black, clutching the folded flag they handed me after Ethan's accident. The world tilted, and grief became my second skin. I sat alone at the funeral, my children pressed against me. Hannah, 7, clinging with wide, frightened eyes, and Michael, 5, too young to understand why Daddy wasn't coming home. My chest was hollow, my future a question mark, but at least I thought the worst was behind me. I was wrong, because as the last mourners drifted away and the churchyard grew quiet, a familiar voice curled into my ears like poison. "Well, well," my mother sneered, stepping out from the shadows of the trees, her manicured hand clutching a handbag that probably cost more than my mortgage. "Look who managed to survive without us." My father appeared behind her, older but no less sharp. His suit was pressed, his shoes polished, as if he were arriving at a gala instead of his son-in-law's burial. "You've done well," he said, eyes glinting at the house key dangling from my wrist. "Better than we expected. Too well, maybe." My stomach dropped. "What are you doing here?" I hissed, pulling my children closer. Lindsay, my younger sister, the one they never abandoned, the one they had dragged into their new life while I was left to rot, slipped up beside them, her smile cold. "We heard Ethan left you some inheritance. Guess who's come to collect?" It was like ice water poured down my spine. My parents hadn't come back out of guilt, out of love, out of some desperate attempt to repair what they'd broken. They had come back for money, for blood they didn't deserve. "You left me," I whispered, my voice shaking. 13 years old, and you walked away. Mom's laugh was sharp enough to cut. "And yet, here you are, alive. You should thank us. We toughened you up." Dad's smile stretched cruelly. "And now you can thank us properly, by handing over what's rightfully ours." I stared at them, grief boiling into something darker, sharper. I had thought Ethan's death was the worst pain I would ever know. But seeing them, these people who called themselves my parents, standing on the bones of my husband's grave and demanding his legacy, that was the moment something inside me broke. I wasn't 13 anymore. I wasn't the girl begging on a porch. I was 25, a widow, a mother, and I had nothing left to lose. And as they walked away, tossing legal threats over their shoulders like confetti, I realized one thing with burning clarity. They hadn't just come to steal from me. They had come to bury me all over again. But this time, I would be the one holding the shovel. The weeks after Ethan's funeral blurred into one wing ache. Grief weighed on me like a stone, but there was no time to collapse. Bills still arrived. Hannah and Michael still needed food, clothes, reassurance. I held them every night, whispering promises I wasn't sure I could keep, and just as I started to breathe again, the summons came. A thick envelope slid under my door, stamped with a lawyer's seal. I ripped it open with trembling hands. My parents' names stared back at me in bold black letters. Plaintiffs. I read the words again and again until they blurred. They were suing me. For Ethan's estate. For the home we had built together. For every dime I had left to raise my children. My chest tightened. I had no lawyer, no money for one. They knew it. That was their game. Days later, they appeared in court with smug expressions, dressed like royalty. Mom in pearls, Dad in his tailored suit, Lindsay trailing behind in designer heels. They didn't look like people grieving the death of their son-in-law. They looked like hunters circling their prey. Their lawyer, a polished man with a silver tongue, stood tall. "Your Honor," he began, "our clients have long provided support and guidance to their daughter. They deserve a share of this estate. It is, after all, family." I almost laughed, except my throat was raw with fury. Support? Guidance? They hadn't so much as sent a birthday card since the day they abandoned me at 13. When my turn came, I stood alone at the defendant's table, my hands trembling on the wooden edge. "Your Honor," I said, my voice shaking but loud enough. "These people left me when I was 13. They stripped me of family, of home, of protection. I built my life alone. I buried my husband alone. And now they come to steal what little is left of him." Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. My parents shifted uncomfortably. But the lawyer pressed on, throwing out lies like confetti. Claims that they had supported me financially from afar, that they had remained involved in my upbringing, that they only left to give me independence. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I listened, burning every word into my memory. Over the next weeks, I watched them strut into hearings, Lindsay smirking like she'd already won. At one session, Mom leaned toward me and hissed, "You should be grateful we even want a piece of your life. Without us, you're nothing." Dad added with a cruel grin, "We gave you existence. That means your success belongs to us." Those words stuck in my chest like nails. At night, after tucking Hannah and Michael into bed, I sat at the kitchen table with stacks of paper. I read every document, every law I could find, every loophole. I didn't have money for a lawyer, but I had something else. Stubbornness. The same stubbornness that had kept me alive at 13, that had carried me through Ethan's death. And then, something shifted. As I dug, I realized they had underestimated me. Their lies were sloppy. Their arrogance made them careless. I found holes in their stories, contradictions in their proof. The dates didn't line up. The evidence was thin. Meanwhile, whisper spread in town. People remembered the girl they left behind. Some remembered seeing them at bars while I was shuffled between neighbors' couches. Others recalled how they bragged about starting a new life without me. The story they tried to spin was crumbling, and I decided, if they wanted war, I'd give them one. But not in their way, not by crawling, not by begging. They thought they could starve me into silence. Instead, I would feed them their own cruelty, served cold, in front of the very community they wanted to impress. The plan began to take shape in my head, sharp and deliberate. Every move they made, I'd twist against them. Every lie they told, I'd split open. Every ounce of pride they carried, I'd turn into dirt beneath their feet. They had taught me I was nothing. Now I would show them what nothing could do. The day of the final hearing arrived with skies as gray as my mood. I dressed in the plainest clothes I owned, not out of shame, but out of defiance. My parents arrived like celebrities, Mom in a silk blazer, Dad in a gold watch that caught the light, Lindsay smirking in the front row like she was attending an awards show. They thought this was their coronation. The judge entered, and the courtroom fell silent. Their lawyer strutted forward, flipping through polished notes. "Your Honor," he began smoothly, "my clients deserve recognition for their lifelong role in their daughter's upbringing. They supported her into adulthood, and it is only fair they share in the inheritance her late husband left behind." Mom dabbed fake tears with a tissue. Dad nodded gravely, hand on his chest. Lindsay cast me a smug glance that said, "It's already over." When the judge turned to me, I stood. My hands trembled, but my voice was clear. "Your Honor, My parents abandoned me when I was 13. They did not provide for me. They did not guide me. They erased me. Everything I built alone, until I met my husband who gave me a family. And now that he is gone, they come not out of love, but greed. The lawyer scoffed. Unsubstantiated claims. My clients can provide character witnesses. That was my opening. I reached into my folder and pulled out a stack of statements. Neighbors, teachers, social workers, each one confirming the truth. They left me behind, and everyone knew it. One neighbor had written, "She came to us hungry at 13. We gave her meals because her parents were gone." Another, "Her parents told me directly they wanted a new life without her." The courtroom stirred. My parents' lawyer paled. "And that's not all," I continued, pulling out documents I had pieced together over long nights. "They claim to have supported me financially? Here are bank records proving otherwise. They claimed to attend my milestones? Here are school logs showing no guardian signatures. They lied. Over and over." The judge's brow furrowed. He turned to my parents. "Do you have any evidence to refute this?" Dad's face reddened. "We gave her life. Isn't that enough?" he shouted, voice cracking with rage. Mom hissed through clenched teeth. "She owes us everything." Gasps rippled through the room. Those words landed harder than any document I could present. I took a breath and delivered the final blow. "Your Honor, my husband's inheritance was meant to provide for me and my children. These people want to take food from my children's mouths, the same children they've ignored since the day they were born, because they see them as leverage, not family." Hannah and Michael sat quietly behind me, their small faces pale but brave. Their presence was louder than any speech. The judge leaned back, disgust etched across his face. "I've heard enough. The plaintiffs have provided no credible evidence. Their claims are not only unfounded but manipulative. Case dismissed. Furthermore, I strongly caution you, do not waste this court's time again." The gavel slammed. The sound was thunder, and with it, everything shifted. My parents froze. Mom's hand shook so badly her tissue fell to the floor. Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Lindsay's smirk shattered into something hollow, her cheeks burning as whispers rose around the courtroom. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. I simply gathered my papers, took my children's hands, and walked out. The whispers followed us like an honor guard. They abandoned her? They tried to steal from a widow? Monsters. Outside, the sun had broken through the clouds, spilling light across the courthouse steps. I lifted my chin, my children pressing close. They had left me at 13, certain I would crumble. They had come back to bury me again, certain I would fold. Instead, I buried them. In truth, in shame, in the eyes of every person they once craved admiration from. This time, they were the ones left with nothing. And I didn't look back. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.